Jake Morrison stood in the center of the great hall on Kepler Prime. The massive room stretched out before him like a giant bowl made of silver metal. Hundreds of alien beings sat in rows that went up and up until they disappeared into shadows. Each one looked different from the others. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had 6 legs or wings that glowed with strange light. A few looked like walk-in crystals that sang when they moved. Jake felt very small in his simple black suit. He carried a briefcase that held all of Earth's information. Pictures of human cities, reports about their technology, and documents showing their short history of space travel. Everything that was supposed to prove humans deserved to join the Galactic Council. The alien in charge was called High Chancellor Vex Thul. He looked like a tall lizard that walked on 2 legs. His skin was dark blue and covered in scales that shined like oil. His eyes were yellow and narrow, and when he looked at Jake, it felt like being watched by a snake. "So," Vexthul said, his voice echoing through the hall, "the humans want to join us. Tell me, little human, what makes your species think they belong here with civilizations that have traveled the stars for thousands of years?" Jake stepped forward and opened his briefcase. "We have built cities that reach into the clouds. We have explored our entire planet and sent missions to other worlds in our solar system. We have learned to split the atom and heal diseases that once killed millions." A sound like laughter came from the alien crowd. The Hive Queen Zakth, who looked like a giant insect with 4 arms, clicked her sharp mouthparts together. "You split atoms? How primitive. We learned to do that when we were still crawling in mud pools." Another alien, made of what looked like living crystal, sang a note that sounded like mockery. "They think visiting their own moon makes them space travelers. Our children go further than that for school trips." Vexthul held up one clawed hand for silence. "Show us your fastest ship, human." Jake activated a hologram projector. A 3-dimensional image of Earth's newest spacecraft appeared in the air. It was sleek and white, with powerful engines that could push it to nearly 1/10 the speed of light. Jake felt proud as he looked at it. The hall erupted in what could only be described as alien laughter. Some aliens made clicking sounds. Others whistled or hummed. A few just shook their heads back and forth. 1/10 light speed? Vexthul asked, his voice full of amusement. "My personal transport goes 50 times faster than that. Your fastest ship is slower than our garbage collectors." Jake's face grew red, but he kept his voice calm. "We may not be as advanced as you, but we learn quickly. We have gone from riding horses to flying in space in less than 100 years. 100 years, repeated an alien that looked like a floating jellyfish. "We have socks older than your entire space program." "What about your weapons?" asked General Crix, a being that looked like a walking suit of armor. "Surely you have something impressive to defend yourselves with." Jake showed another hologram. This one displayed human military equipment, tanks, aircraft, and missiles. "We have nuclear weapons that can destroy entire cities. We have lasers that can cut through metal. We have nuclear weapons." Vexthul interrupted, now laughing so hard his scales rattled. "Did you hear that? They still use nuclear weapons. What's next? Are they going to threaten us with sharp sticks?" The Hive Queen Zakht, he spoke up. "We stopped using nuclear weapons so long ago that we have forgotten how to make them. They are like toys to us now." "Your lasers," said the crystal being in its singing voice, "are weaker than the lights we use to grow food. A human child with a magnifying glass and sunlight could do more damage." Jake felt his heart sinking. Everything humans were proud of, everything they had worked so hard to achieve, was being treated like a joke. But he had to try one more time. "We may not have your technology," he said, "but we have something else. We have the will to survive. We have fought and struggled, and never given up. We have overcome every challenge our world has thrown at us. Survival? Vexthal asked. You think survival makes you special? Every species here has survived. The difference is that we survived long enough to become civilized. You are still barbarians who solve problems by hitting them with rocks. Your species fights wars over patches of dirt, added General Crix. You kill each other over who's imaginary. Friend is better. You destroy your own planet while living on it. This is not the behavior of a civilized species. You have been in space for what, 50 years? Asked the floating jellyfish. We have been watching you that whole time. You have shown us nothing but violence and stupidity. Why would we want you here? Jake looked around the hall. Every alien face, no matter how strange, showed the same expression. Disgust, amusement, superiority. They looked at him the way a human might look at an ant that had somehow learned to speak. We vote, announced Vexthal. All in favor of accepting the human application for membership in the Galactic Council, raise your appendages. Jake looked hopefully around the hall. Not a single arm, tentacle, wing, or crystal formation moved upward. All opposed? The hall filled with a forest of raised limbs. The vote was unanimous. Not one alien thought humans deserved to join their council. The application is rejected, Vexthal declared. Humans are too primitive, too violent, and too insignificant to join civilized galactic society. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have learned to behave like adults instead of children, you may try again. Jake packed his briefcase slowly. His hands shook slightly, but his voice was steady when he spoke. You think you know us. You think you understand what humans are capable of, but you have only seen what we wanted you to see. He walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet hall. At the door, he turned back one last time. You? Judge us by your standards, but you have never faced what we have faced. You have never had to fight for every breath, every meal, every day of existence. You grew up in a safe galaxy, protected by older species. We grew up alone on a dangerous world that has made us something you cannot understand. The aliens watched him with the same amused expressions. Remember this moment, Jake said quietly. Remember that you had the chance to have us as friends. Because the next time we meet, things will be very different. The great doors closed behind him with a sound like thunder. The aliens returned to their conversations and business, already forgetting about the insignificant humans and their rejected application. None of them noticed that Jake Morrison was smiling as he walked away. Captain Lisa Hayes was studying star charts in her quarters aboard the exploration ship Discovery when the message came through. The communication was encrypted with codes she had never seen before. When she decoded it, the message was simple and direct. All human personnel are to return to Earth immediately, and in current missions. Tell no one the real reason for departure. This order comes from the highest authority. Compliance is mandatory. Lisa read the message 3 times. She had been leading a survey mission in the Andromeda sector for 8 months. Her team was close to completing their study of 3 potentially habitable planets. The work would normally take another year to finish. She called her first officer, Lieutenant Commander Alex Parker, to her quarters. Alex was a young man with brown hair and serious eyes. He had been with her crew for 2 years and had never questioned an order. Alex, we're going home, Lisa said simply. Home? But Captain, we haven't finished the survey. The Galactic Council is expecting our report on the Andromeda worlds. Some of these planets could support colonies from multiple species. New orders. From Earth, we leave in 6 hours. Alex frowned. Did something happen? Is there an emergency? Lisa looked at the encrypted message again. I don't know, but we follow orders. Start preparations immediately. Tell the crew we're returning to Earth for reassignment. 6 hours later, the Discovery turned away from the Andromeda sector and headed toward Earth. Lisa watched the 3 planets disappear from her view screen. She wondered if she would ever see them again. Dr. Ben Rodriguez was working late in his laboratory on Harmony 7. The research station orbited a gas giant in the Centauri system. Scientists from 12 different species worked there together, studying the strange energy readings that came from the planet's core. Ben was a xenobiologist who specialized in studying alien plant life. He had been working with a team of Zephyrian scientists to understand how their homeworld's plants could survive in extreme cold. The project was important for terraforming efforts across the galaxy. His computer chimed with an incoming message. It was from Earth's Science Ministry. The message was brief. Dr. Rodriguez, you are ordered to return to Earth within 48 hours. Bring no research data with you. Tell your colleagues you have been reassigned to a new project. Pack only personal items. Ben stared at the message in confusion. He had been on Harmony 7 for 3 years. His work was going well. The Zephyrian scientists respected him, and he had learned to communicate with them despite their strange language. His lab partner, Dr. Sithtal, entered the room. The Zephyrian was tall and thin, with blue scales and large yellow eyes. Over the years, Ben had learned to read the alien's expressions. Ben, you look troubled. Is something wrong with the plant samples? No, the samples are fine, but I have to leave. Earth has given me a new assignment. Dr. Sithtale's head tilted to one side, the way Zephyrians showed confusion. Leave? But our work is not finished. We are close to understanding how the ice plants store energy. This could help both our species. I'm sorry, my friend. Orders. Our orders. I have to go. Ben packed his few personal belongings. He left behind 3 years of research notes and samples. As he prepared to board the transport ship, Dr. Sithtal approached him one last time. When will you return, Ben? Ben looked at his alien colleague, someone he had come to consider a friend. I don't know if I will return. The transport ship carried Ben away from Harmony 7. He was one of 15 humans on board, all with similar orders to return to Earth immediately. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On the mining station at Kepler 7, human engineers received orders to abandon their posts. They had been working with crystalline aliens to develop new mining techniques. The work was left unfinished. In the Vega system, human diplomats at the embassy suddenly packed their belongings and departed. They told their alien counterparts that they were being reassigned to other duties. The embassy building was left empty. Human traders at the Great Market on Proxima Station sold their goods quickly and bought passage back to Earth. They had been trading with dozens of alien species for years. Their sudden departure left empty stalls and confused alien customers. Dr. Rachel Green was a teacher at the Galaxy University on Titan Prime. She taught human history and culture to students from many different species. Her classes were popular because she helped aliens understand human thinking and behavior. One morning, she announced to her students that she would not be returning after the semester break. Her alien students were upset. They had come to enjoy learning about human culture. Professor Green, why are you leaving? Asked one of her students, a young hive queen in training. We want to learn more about human art and music. I'm sorry, but I have to return to Earth. Perhaps another human teacher will take my place. But no replacement teacher ever came. The human culture classes were canceled. Captain Tony Williams commanded the human cargo ship Horizon. He had been transporting goods between Earth and the outer colonies for 12 years. His ship was well known at spaceports throughout the galaxy. Tony received the same orders as all the others. Return to Earth immediately. He was in the middle of delivering medical supplies to a colony of peaceful plant-like aliens called the Verdani. The supplies were needed to fight a disease that was killing their young. "Captain Williams, you cannot leave now," pleaded the Verdani colony leader. "Our children are dying. These medicines will save them." Tony felt terrible, but his orders were clear. "I'm sorry. I have to go. Maybe another ship will bring the supplies." He unloaded the medical supplies at the nearest trading post and headed for Earth. The Verdani colony would have to wait for help that might never come. Within 3 months, something strange became clear to the alien species across the galaxy. Every human everywhere was leaving. Scientists, diplomats, traders, teachers, miners, explorers, and military personnel. They all received the same orders to return to Earth. At first, the aliens were confused. Then some began to celebrate. "Good," said High Chancellor Vexthul, when he learned that all human diplomats had left Zephyrian space. "We don't need those. Primitive barbarians, anyway. Let them go back to their little planet and stay there." General Crix agreed. Perhaps they finally realized they don't belong in civilized galactic society. "It's better this way." The Hive Queen Zox clicked her mandibles in satisfaction. Now we can get real work done without having to deal with their crude questions and simple minds. But Dr. Sithtel felt differently. He stood in his empty laboratory on Harmony 7, looking at the abandoned research equipment Ben had left behind. Something about the humans' departure bothered him. Why did they all leave at the same time? He wondered aloud. And why did they leave so suddenly? Other thoughtful aliens began to ask similar questions. But most of the galaxy celebrated the departure of the humans. They assumed the rejected species had given up on space travel and returned to Earth in shame. The alien species went back to their normal activities. They filled the jobs that humans had left behind. They continued their research without human participation. They traded with each other without human interference. None of them noticed that the humans had taken certain things with them. Information about alien technology, star charts showing the locations of important colonies, and detailed knowledge of alien military capabilities. The galaxy seemed more peaceful without humans. But it would not stay that way for long. In the empty human embassy on Proxima Station, a janitor found a note that had been left behind. It was written in simple galactic common language. "We came in peace. We offered friendship. You chose mockery instead. Remember that you had a choice." The janitor threw the note away and continued cleaning. Like most aliens, he had already forgotten about the humans and their warnings. 2 years had passed since the humans left the galaxy. Most aliens had forgotten about them completely. Trade continued between species. New colonies were built. Scientific research moved forward without human participation. But in the Outer Rim territories, strange things began to happen. Commander Zixtal was in charge of the Zephyrian mining operation on the planet Nexus 4. The planet was rich in rare metals that the Zephyrians used to build their fastest ships. 50,000 workers lived on the planet, digging deep tunnels and processing ore. One morning, Zixtal woke to find that all communications with the outside galaxy had stopped working. The massive communication array that connected Nexus 4 to the rest of Zephyrian space was completely dead. "What happened to our communications?" Zixtal demanded of his chief engineer. "I don't know, Commander. The equipment was working perfectly yesterday. Today, it won't even turn on. It's like someone drained all the power from the system." Zixtal sent repair teams to fix the problem. But when they reached the communication array, they found something impossible. The entire system had been taken apart, not destroyed or broken, but carefully dismantled piece by piece. Every useful component was gone. Who could have done this? Zixtal wondered. And how did they do it without anyone seeing them? The security recordings showed nothing unusual. No ships had approached the planet. No unauthorized personnel had been detected. But somehow, their most important equipment had been stolen in the night. 3 days later, the mining equipment began to fail. The giant machines that dug the tunnels stopped working. The processing plants that turned raw ore into pure metal shut down. Every piece of technology on the planet began to break at the same time. Zixtal tried to send a ship to the nearest Zephyrian colony for help. But when the ship tried to leave the planet's atmosphere, its engines died. The ship crashed back to the surface, its crew shaken but alive. "Commander," reported the pilot, "something is jamming our engines. Every time we try to leave the planet, our power systems shut down." Zixtal looked at the reports from across the mining colony. Every piece of advanced technology was failing. Only the most basic equipment still worked. They had food and water, but no way to contact the outside galaxy or leave the planet. "We're trapped," he realized. Similar problems were happening throughout. The Outer Rim. On the crystal world of Resonance Prime, an entire city of singing crystal beings went silent in a single night. Their beautiful harmonic songs, which had echoed across the planet for thousands of years, simply stopped. The Hive Queen Zakhth sent a swarm of her children to investigate a report of missing ships in the frontier sector. 12 cargo vessels had disappeared without sending distress signals. The swarm of insect-like beings searched the area where the ships had last been seen. They found the ships drifting in space, completely empty. The crews were gone, but there were no signs of struggle or violence. The ship's computers showed no record of what had happened. One moment the crews were there, the next they had vanished. "How is this possible?" the Hive Queen demanded when her children reported back. "Ships don't just lose their crews in empty space." She sent a larger swarm to investigate further. This time, she lost contact with her children as well. The swarm of 50,000 insect beings simply disappeared. Their last transmission was a confused buzz that translated to, "Something is here with us." The Hive Queen felt the death of her children through their shared mental connection. But she could not understand how they had died or what had killed them. The fear began to spread through her remaining swarms. Admiral Kate Thompson sat in the command center of the Earth Defense Vessel Retribution. The ship was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. It was 3 miles long and completely invisible to all known detection methods. Advanced stealth technology made it impossible to see, hear, or scan. "Phase 1 operations are complete," reported Lieutenant Commander Alex Parker. "All Outer Rim installations in Sectors 7 through 15 have been neutralized. No survivors, no witnesses." Kate nodded as she studied the holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations where alien operations had been. Eliminated. The pattern was clear to anyone who knew how to look for it. "The aliens still don't understand what's happening to them," said Dr. Susan Wells, Earth's leading expert on alien technology. "They think it's equipment failure or natural disasters. They have no idea they're being hunted." Kate smiled coldly. "Good. Fear is more effective when the enemy doesn't know what they're afraid of." The Retribution was one of 12 identical ships that Earth had built in secret. For 50 years, while showing the aliens only primitive technology, humans had been developing weapons and ships that were centuries ahead of anything in the galaxy. The ships could travel faster than light, without making any noise or energy signature. They could attack from impossible distances and disappear before anyone knew they were there. They could disable entire fleets without being detected. "What's our next target?" Kate asked. "The Zephyrian military base at Outpost 7, Alex replied. "It's their main weapons development facility. Intelligence reports they're working on new shield technology. Then we'll make sure they never finish that work." The Retribution moved through space like a ghost. It approached Outpost 7 undetected. The base was heavily defended with the most advanced weapons the Zephyrians had ever built. Energy shields surrounded the station. Patrol ships flew regular sweeps around the perimeter. None of it mattered. The Retribution fired a single beam of energy that passed through the shields as if they weren't there. The beam struck the station's main power core and caused a chain reaction. The entire base exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from 3 star systems away. The patrol ships tried to find what had attacked them, but their sensors showed nothing. The Retribution had already vanished into the darkness between stars. Back on their home worlds, the alien species began to panic. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Mining operations going silent, ships disappearing, colonies losing contact, military bases being destroyed by an invisible enemy. High Chancellor Vexthal called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. The great hall where humans had once been rejected was now filled with frightened aliens. Something is hunting. U.S., Vexthal announced. Our outer territories are being systematically destroyed. Ships are vanishing. Our people are disappearing. General Crix stood up. Our military bases are being attacked by weapons we cannot detect. The enemy destroys our defenses and disappears before we can respond. Who is doing this? Demanded the floating jellyfish alien. What species has this kind of technology? The crystal beings sang a note of fear. We have lost contact with 7 of our worlds. Our people there are gone, but we don't know what happened to them. Vexthal looked around the hall at the assembled. Species, we need to work together. Whatever is attacking us, it's more dangerous than anything we've ever faced. But even as they tried to organize their defenses, the attacks continued. Every day brought new reports of missing ships and destroyed bases. The invisible enemy was moving closer to the core worlds, and nothing the aliens did could stop it. In the back of the hall, Dr. Sithtal sat quietly. He had been thinking about his human friend, Ben Rodriguez. The timing of the human departure and the start of the attacks seemed too convenient to be coincidence. What if, he whispered to himself, the humans didn't leave in shame? What if they left to prepare for war? But when he tried to share this thought with other aliens, they laughed at him. Humans were primitive. They had crude weapons and slow ships. They couldn't possibly be responsible for the sophisticated attacks that were destroying galactic civilization. Dr. Sithtal hoped they were right. But deep down, he suspected they were about to learn just how wrong they had been about the humans. Galaxy was no longer safe. Something was hunting them in the darkness, and they had no idea how to fight back. Fleet Admiral Ryan Cross stood in the war room deep beneath the surface of Earth. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the entire galaxy. Red lights marked every alien world that had been attacked. Green lights showed targets that were still active. The red lights outnumbered the green ones by 10-1. Status report. Ryan commanded. Intelligence Officer Claire Bennett stepped forward. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. The Resonants have pulled all their ships back to their home system. They're too afraid to venture beyond their own space. The Zephyrians have lost 60% of their outer colonies. The Hive Queen has recalled her swarms from 12 sectors. Ryan nodded with satisfaction. And the Galactic Council? In complete panic. They're trying to form a defense alliance, but they can't coordinate their fleets. Every time they try to meet, we intercept their communications and destroy their gathering points before they can organize. Dr. Susan Wells approached the command table. She carried a tablet showing captured alien technology. Admiral, we've been analyzing the equipment we've taken from their bases. Their technology is impressive in some ways, but it has a critical weakness. What weakness? They've been using the same basic principles for thousands of years. They never evolved their technology because they never faced a real threat. They've grown lazy and predictable. All their ships use the same type of shields. All their weapons follow the same energy patterns. Once we learned to counter one ship, we could counter them all. Ryan smiled grimly. What about their attempts to adapt? They're trying, but they're too slow. By the time they develop a new defense, we've already moved on to attacking something else. They're always one step behind us. Commander Dan Phillips entered the room carrying a datapad. Admiral, we've intercepted another transmission from the Galactic Council. High Chancellor Vixthul is begging for a truce. He wants to negotiate. Let him beg, Ryan said coldly. Did they want to negotiate when they laughed at us? Did they offer us mercy when they called us primitive barbarians? No, sir. But he's offering to share their technology with us. Full access to their star charts and scientific databases. Ryan laughed. He thinks we want their technology. He still doesn't understand that we've already surpassed them in every way that matters. The holographic display showed a new development. A large fleet of Zephyrian ships was trying to reach one of their threatened colonies. The fleet included their most advanced warships and their best commanders. Admiral, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the Zephyrian relief fleet is moving toward Colony 7. They have 40 ships, including 3 of their heavy cruisers. Which of our ships is in that area? The Nemesis, under Captain Liza Hayes. Ryan activated the communication system. Captain Hayes, you have a Zephyrian fleet approaching your position. Are you ready to engage? Lisa's voice came through. Speakers. Ready and waiting, Admiral. They still haven't learned to scan for us properly. Show them what happens when they venture too far from home. The Nemesis was invisible to the Zephyrian sensors. The alien fleet flew directly toward the colony, unaware that a human warship was already there waiting for them. The Zephyrian ships were powerful, but they were fighting an enemy they couldn't see. Lisa watched the alien fleet approach on her display. Target their command ship first. I want their admiral to see his fleet destroyed before he dies. The Nemesis fired a single shot that passed through the Zephyrian shields and struck their flagship. The massive alien ship exploded in a ball of fire. The other ships in the fleet scattered in panic, but it was too late. Fire at will, Lisa ordered. The Nemesis unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that tore through the Zephyrian fleet. Ship after ship exploded as the human weapons found their targets. The aliens fired back desperately, but their weapons struck empty space. They couldn't hit what they couldn't see. In less than 10 minutes, the entire Zephyrian fleet was destroyed. 40 ships and over 50,000 alien lives were lost. The Nemesis disappeared back into the darkness without taking any damage. On Earth, Ryan watched the battle reports with satisfaction. That was their best fleet, their most experienced commanders. Now they know that nowhere is safe. The attacks continued across the galaxy. Human ships struck at military bases, research stations, and industrial complexes. The aliens tried to defend themselves, but their defenses were useless against an enemy they couldn't detect. The Hive Queen Zakdat tried to hide her remaining swarms in the asteroid fields of the debris sector. She thought the floating rocks would provide cover from the human hunters. But the human ships found them anyway. The swarms were eliminated one by one until only a few thousand of the Hive Queen's children remained. The crystal beings of Resonance Prime tried to escape into subspace, a dimension where they thought they would be safe. But human technology could follow them there too. The crystalline aliens found no refuge in the hidden dimensions. General Crix attempted to organize a counterattack. He gathered ships from 12 different species and planned a strike against Earth itself. But the Human Intelligence Network intercepted his plans. The multi-species fleet was destroyed before it could leave their staging area. How do they know everything we're planning? Crix demanded before his ship was destroyed. How do they always know where we'll be? The answer was simple. For 50 years, humans had been living among the aliens, learning their languages, studying their technology, and mapping their territories. Every human who had worked on an alien world had been gathering intelligence. Every human diplomat, scientist, and trader had been a spy. When the humans withdrew from galactic space, they took with them detailed knowledge of every alien military base, every communication system, and every defensive strategy. The aliens had welcomed human observers into their most secret facilities, never suspecting that the primitive humans were learning everything they needed to know. Dr. Sithtel sat alone in his laboratory on the Zephyrian homeworld. He had been trying to convince his government that the humans were responsible for the attacks, but no one would listen to him. It's impossible, his superiors told him. Humans don't have the technology to do this. They're too primitive to build invisible ships or weapons that can penetrate our shields. But Siftal remembered his friend Ben Rodriguez. The human had been intelligent and curious, always asking questions about Zephyrian technology. Ben had learned their language perfectly and understood their science better than most Zephyrians. What if they were never primitive? Siftal wondered. What if they were always more advanced than they appeared? He accessed the old files from when Ben had worked on Harmony 7. The human had been studying Zephyrian energy systems and shield technology. At the time, it had seemed like innocent scientific curiosity. Now Sithtal realized it had been something else entirely. He was learning how to defeat our defenses, Sithtal said to himself. They all were. High Chancellor. Vexthal broadcast another message into space, begging for peace talks. We know you can hear us, he said. We want to negotiate. We can discuss terms. We can find a way to coexist. The message was sent to every corner of the galaxy, but it received no response. The humans weren't interested in talking. They were interested in winning. On Earth, Ryan Cross listened to the alien pleas with cold satisfaction. They want to negotiate now that they're losing. They want mercy now that they're afraid. Should we respond? Asked Claire Bennett. Not yet. Fear is a useful teacher. Let them experience more of it before we decide their fate. The human fleet continued its methodical destruction of alien civilization. Every day brought new victories. Every week saw more alien territories fall under human control. The species that had once mocked humanity now cowered in their home systems, afraid to venture into the darkness where human hunters waited. The galaxy was learning a lesson that would never be forgotten. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was not weak, and humanity did not forgive insults. The war was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The humans had proven that they were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Soon, the aliens would learn exactly what that meant for their future. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of Kepler Prime for the second time in his life. But this visit was very different from his first. 3 years ago, he had come as a supplicant, hoping for acceptance. Today, he came as a conqueror. The great hall of the Galactic Council was nearly empty. Of the 47 species that had once laughed at humanity's application, only 7 remained. The others had been eliminated or driven back to their home worlds, where they waited in terror for the final human assault. Jake's footsteps echoed in the vast chamber as he walked to the center of the floor. Behind him marched 20 human soldiers, in black armor. Their weapons were visible, but not threatening. They didn't need to threaten anyone. Everyone in the galaxy knew what human weapons could do. High Chancellor Vexthal sat hunched in his chair. The proud Zephyrian leader, who had once mocked human technology, now looked old and defeated. His scales had lost their shine, and his yellow eyes darted nervously around the room. The Hive Queen Zoxth clicked her mandibles softly. She had lost 90% of her children to the human hunters. Her once mighty swarms were reduced to a few hundred, survivors hiding in the deepest tunnels of her homeworld. The crystal beings still sang, but their harmonious melodies were now filled with fear and sadness. Their beautiful crystal cities lay in ruins, shattered by human weapons that could break their hardest materials. General Crix was no longer a general. His armies had been destroyed, and his weapons proven useless against human technology. He sat in his chair like a broken toy, staring at nothing. Jake stood in the same spot where he had been humiliated 3 years before. But now he was the one, in control. The aliens who had once looked down on him now trembled in his presence. 3 years ago, you rejected our application to join your council, Jake began. His voice was calm and steady. You called us primitive. You laughed at our technology. You said we were too violent and too insignificant to deserve a place among civilized species. Vexthul tried to speak. Ambassador Morrison, we were wrong. We made a mistake. Surely we can find a way to silence, Jake said quietly. The word carried such authority that the Zephyrian immediately stopped talking. You are right about one thing, Jake continued. We are violent. Humans have been fighting for survival since we first walked upright on our home world. We have faced ice, ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed weaker species. Every challenge made us stronger. Every threat taught us new ways to survive. Dr. Sithtal, who sat in the observer's section, felt his worst fears confirmed. The humans had never been primitive. They had been pretending. For 50 years, we showed you only what we wanted you to see, Jake explained. While you thought we were struggling to build simple spacecraft, we were already traveling faster than light. While you mocked our crude weapons, we were developing technology that could make your most advanced defenses useless. The floating jellyfish alien whispered, But why? Why did you deceive us? Jake turned to look at the trembling creature. Because we wanted to learn about you. We wanted to understand your strengths and weaknesses. We wanted to know everything. About your technology, your military capabilities, and your social structures. You welcomed us into your worlds because you thought we were harmless. You showed us your secrets because you believed we were too primitive to understand them. Commander. Don Phillips stepped forward carrying a data tablet. Every human who worked on your worlds was gathering intelligence. Every diplomat who visited your capitals was mapping your defenses. Every scientist who studied in your laboratories was learning how to defeat your technology. Dr. Rodriguez, Sithtal said suddenly. Ben was never just a xenobiologist. Was? He, Jake smiled coldly. Dr. Rodriguez was one of our best intelligence officers. He learned everything about Zephyrian shield technology while pretending to study plants. The information he gathered allowed us to develop weapons that could penetrate your defenses. The few remaining aliens in the hall looked at each other with growing horror. They realized that every human they had ever trusted had been a spy. Every friendship had been a lie. Every act of cooperation had been a deception. What do you want from us? Vexthul asked desperately. What are your terms? Jake activated a holographic projector. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the air, showing the current state of galactic civilization. Most alien territories were marked in red, indicating they were under human control. These are our terms, Jake announced. All surviving alien species will serve as vassals of the human empire. Your technology belongs to us. Your resources belong to us. Your worlds belong to us. You will work for us, and in return, we will allow you to live. And if we refuse? Asked the crystal being, and a trembling Songot captain, Lisa Hayes, stepped out from behind the human soldiers. She wore the uniform of the Earth Defense Force and carried a weapon that none of the aliens recognized. Then you will join the species that are no longer with us. Jake gestured to the empty seats around the hall. 39 species once sat in these chairs. They refused our terms. Their worlds are now silent. Their civilizations are dust. Their people are gone. You 7 are the only ones left because you were wise enough to surrender. The Hive Queen spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. How many of us are left alive? Including your 7 species, less than 1 billion aliens remain in the entire galaxy, Dan Phillips replied. Before our war began, there were over 500 billion. You should feel honored. You are the survivors. Dr. Siftel stood up slowly. You didn't just defeat us. You destroyed us. You wiped out entire civilizations. Yes, Jake replied without emotion. We did, just as you would have done to us if you had possessed the power. The difference is that we had the strength to act on our hatred, and you did not. Vexthul tried one last desperate plea. But why spare us at all? Why not finish what you started? Jake looked around the nearly empty hall. Because someone needs to remember what happened here. Someone needs to tell the story of what occurs when you underestimate humanity. If we meet other species in the future, you will serve as a warning to them. Admiral Kate Thompson entered the hall through a side door. She wore the insignia of the Supreme Commander of Human Forces. The galaxy is now under human control. All major alien military forces have been eliminated. The surviving populations are confined to their home systems under our supervision. Jake nodded with satisfaction. Humanity has claimed its rightful place as the dominant species in the galaxy. We will expand to every habitable world. We will build new colonies and establish new trade routes. The age of human space has begun. The surviving aliens sat in stunned silence. Everything they had built over thousands of years was gone. Their mighty civilizations had fallen to a species they had dismissed as primitive. The galaxy that had once refused humans entry now belonged to humanity completely. You will return to your home worlds, Jake commanded. You will tell your people that they now serve the human empire. You will help us maintain order and prevent rebellion. In return, you will be allowed to live in peace under our protection. As the aliens filed out of the hall, Dr. Siftal approached Jake one last time. I tried to warn them, he said quietly. I told them you were more dangerous than you appeared, but no one would listen. Would it have made a difference? Jake asked. Siftal thought for a moment. No, we were too proud, too certain of our superiority. We would never have believed the truth until it was too late. Jake watched the last alien leave the hall. Soon he would return to Earth as the architect of humanity's greatest victory. The species that had once mocked humans would spend the rest of their existence serving their new masters. The galaxy was silent now. Silent of alien laughter, silent of alien songs, silent of alien voices raised in discussion and debate. In their place was the quiet efficiency of human administration and the steady sound of human ships patrolling the space lanes. On a newly colonized world in the former Zephyrian sector, a young human girl looked up at the stars and asked her father a question. Daddy, why is space so quiet? Why don't we hear from other people out there? Her father smiled and pointed to the distant stars. Because we taught them to listen, sweetheart. We taught them all to listen. The girl nodded and went back to playing. She would grow up in a galaxy where humanity ruled supreme, where alien species existed only to serve human purposes, and where the lesson of what happened to those who mocked humanity would never be forgotten. The silence was complete, and it would last forever.